Two tailors coming for you. In the shadows where nightmares brew. 3, 4,
When are you gonna look for that
the
beat?
door. She's not the same as she was before. 5, 6, you better get a crucifix. Her smile twists like magic tricks. 7, 8, no one can escape. She's the storm behind the drape. She moves quiet like the coldest breeze. A haunting tune that bends the trees. No place to hide, no place to run. She's the moon eclipsing the sun. Whispered laughs from the other side. Chilling tales where secrets hide. Her shadow dances through the flame. Whispering softly, she knows your name. 5, 6, you better get a crucifix. Her smile twists like magic tricks. 7, 8, no one can escape. She's the storm behind the drape. She's back again, bringing chaos like the strongest wind. No lullaby, no sweet omen. Taylor's here until the end.
Y'all, we're giving Ed a minute to get here.
She's back again.
A whistle split the twilight hush. Steel on steel in thunderous rush. Taylor stood where tracks collide. A storm behind those steadfast eyes.
Can you hear me, D? Hello?
Yes, Ed, I can hear you loud and clear if I unmute.
What?
I was muted on my end.
All right, well, we got things right here.
Yeah, we're doing good tonight.
I'm sorry I was a little late, but I'm just posting it now. A huge boom went off, and I was like, what is that? There are now fireworks going off outside of my condo on the water.
Oh.
They're still going off. I videoed for like 2 minutes. They're still going off as I sit here.
Oh.
Well, I don't know what the day is, October 23rd, but they're still going on. They've been going off since like 8 o'clock or before that. I don't know if my microphone can pick them up for you, but can hear it. But I just posted the video, the first part of it. So I thought it was a bomb. And
yeah.
Yeah.
With all the craziness going on. Yeah.
So there you go. So how are you?
Well, I could complain, but it won't do me any good.
I see. That good, huh?
My stomach, Monday aside, it was going to go into a flare up. I had 2 good days yesterday and Tuesday. I had great days, no problems. Woke up at 2 a.m. this morning in so much pain, it wasn't even funny. Like laying there in tears because my stomach hurt so bad. So
What is it?
It's the Crohn's.
Oh, is it?
I'm just having a flare up.
Okay.
It's one of those, it comes and it goes, and everyone I talk to who talks about Crohn's disease
Yeah.
says either you have really, really good days or you gain 50 pounds because, things aren't working either way.
Right.
And then you have my issue where everything has been expelled from my body.
Like that Brian Regan joke about everything on my inside wants to be on my outside.
Yeah.
Right.
I get that joke all too well.
Mm-hmm.
So I did invite my LA friend to come over and watch. I did send him the link, not the actual link to StreamYard, but the link to the chat if he wanted to come in.
The link.
Yeah, the link.
Link.
And if he wants to come up and he is in chat, all he has to do is let me know, and we can walk him through on how to click the link in the chat.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure someone out there knows.
He's in LA, Los Angeles.
No.
Or what? Where in? Where
Okay,
did I thought you
Davis.
said LA?
No, he lives in Davis. So
Davis,
he's just north of
Oklahoma.
me. Yep.
Okay. Because I thought you said LA, and I was like, well, that's either Louisiana or Los Angeles. I wasn't.
He messaged me yesterday and I told him he was a hard person to find when I first messaged him. And he messaged me yesterday. He goes, well, I just came back into the States. I was like, oh.
Huh.
So he's doing something, probably missionary work of some sort, knowing him.
I see. Okay.
But see how I know the gentleman, the cop friend of mine. My dad used to babysit him. So it was one of those, you're a family friend. You will answer my questions. And I don't have to sugarcoat it to you.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I said to him. And he goes, nope, you're right. What do you need to know? I was like, I'm digging into this case. What do you know? What can you tell me?
Mm-hmm.
He goes, well, I'm retired now. He goes, I can tell you a lot. So you and me have to put out beforehand that I do know what happened, or the theory behind what happened, or where the gentleman's at that we'll be talking about. But I mean, it's just very crazy how like I told you, whenever she acted the way she did towards me, with me just going, here's my friend's email, just emailing. Talk to him. You know what I mean? It should have sent red flags all up. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
So, before we get started, hey, Frank. Hey, FarQ, who changed her name. And my friend Frank.
Hello to Jody. What's going on?
So first, right out the hat, we're going to go ahead, and the gentleman that's on the thumbprint, his name is James Richard Larabee. This is from the Charlie Project. Missing since September 2013. Well, let's go back. September 28th, 2013, from Davis, Oklahoma. Classified missing. Sex male. Race white. 53 years of age when he went missing. Height would be 6 foot, 180 pounds on weight. Disclaimers. Caucasian male. Brown hair, brown eyes. Larabee's nickname is Rick, which you'll hear me refer to him as Rick. All the way through it.
Okay.
Larabee was last seen on September 28th, 2013, when he attended his high school reunion in Davis, Oklahoma. On October 3rd, he texted his sister saying he was going north to the northwest Oklahoma and would be back in 9 days. This is the last time anyone in his family heard from him. They subsequently learned he had cashed out his 401k retirement savings prior to the class reunion. Larabee's vehicle was sold in Georgia in April of 2015. His Texas driver's license expired in 2016 and was never renewed. He was not reported missing until 2018 due to miscommunication with his family. His grown children had thinking one side filed and the other thought the other side filed on the children, and I guess even the sister. And learning later on that they had not either one filed a missing persons report. His whereabouts are unknown, and the case remains unsolved.
Right.
Davis Police Department is 580-369-3333. It is on NamUs. It is, and if you look up KXII News 12, and you look up James Richard Larabee, you will find a news broadcast from there. Ed, you want to cut me off at this point, or you want me to
No, you keep going, Dee. I'm listening.
Okay.
I'm listening. I know you've done quite a bit of work on it. Keep going. No, you've done some great work on this, so please keep going.
Oklahoma native Richard Larabee attended a high school class reunion in 2013 and hasn't been seen since. He was 53 years of age when he was last seen on September 28, 2013 in Davis, Oklahoma. He quit his job and cashed out his 401k shortly before he disappeared. Rick Larabee has been missing for nearly a decade. The 53-year-old was last seen at his high school reunion on September 28th in Davis, Oklahoma. We mainly grew up in Davis, Rick's younger sister Julie Miller said, or told Dateline. It's a small town, but as the siblings got older, Julie said they moved out of Davis and on to their own adventures. According to Julie, by 2013, Rick was living on his own in Denton, Texas, and had 5 children. He was recently divorced, Julie said. She told Dateline that 2 of Rick's children were older and lived independently, while the others lived with their mother. He liked being with his kids a lot, Julie said. He likes being with his family. Rick Larabee, Julie Miller, Julie said that Rick only lived a few hours from each other and were very close. We talked on the phone several times a week, Julie says. On September 23rd, 2013, Rick was back in his hometown, Davis. According to Julie, he was catching up with old buddies. He liked researching his past and reconnecting with people that he hadn't seen in a long time. Julie said he definitely liked a people person. So I guess that means he was definitely a people person and well liked. Julie told Dateline that Rick attended a high school reunion on Saturday. My brother was in class reunion went to the class reunion every year. Julie said they have an alumni banquet every year. It doesn't have to be your 10th, 15th or so on. It doesn't matter. They just like to have the party. Yeah.
And we also found, like you mentioned, his car. So he cashed out his 401k. My understanding, D, is we do not know how much that was, right?
No, and I probably could have asked if
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Cooper knew,
Okay. All right. Well,
but I didn't.
all right. So we don't know how much that was. And then his car. Did they track it down? Did they eventually find the car?
It was sold in Georgia.
Right. So, all right. So he's from. He has connections in Oklahoma and Texas, but it was sold in Georgia.
Yes.
Okay.
And he told his sister he was going to go up to the Northwest Oklahoma for 9 days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, mind you, this is all what the sister has said over the years.
Okay.
Okay. And then we'll get into the meat and potatoes and what I asked and what I found out. According to Julie, that was the last time anyone heard from Rick.
To be clear, he did go to the reunion or he did not go to the reunion.
Now, do you want what she's put out or what I know through talking to the LA?
All right, so there is a discrepancy, is what you're saying?
Uh-huh.
All right, that's good enough for now. All right, so there's a discrepancy there. Okay, yeah, I know you have a lot of information given the work you've done over the last couple of days. Keep going, D. I just wanted to make sure as you continue, I just have a couple things I'm thinking about. That's okay.
Their mother had stage 4 cancer and was dying. It was very out of the ordinary for him not to text or call just a second.
Come on, Train. Give D a break this week. She's been kind of sick. She did all this great work for the show tonight, and then you got to come blazing through there all loud and stuff. Frank's asking, have there been any sightings of him that have been verified? I don't think so, right, D?
The best way for me to answer that right this second is, from what I've been told, might not have been physical eyes on, but someone talked to a gentleman on a phone with that number.
Okay. Right.
That's so anyway, the sisters wanting, their mom's dying of cancer and all this stuff. And so this friend pops up out of the blue. And this is a mutual friend of ours, called and told me that my brother had quit his job, cashed out his 401k. She said that the friend told her that Rick said to her that he was going to just disappear.
Okay.
Julie said that a few weeks later, the friend's story changed, and she told me that my brother was going to go up in the woods and kill himself. So,
okay.
And there's a lot more with it, but we're going to go ahead, and I think that got most of the meat and potatoes out of the way.
Okay.
And
do you want to mention anything that you've done in talking to your friend a couple days ago, or the guy yesterday?
Yeah, we will. That will be my next.
Okay.
At this point, what would you be thinking?
Well, the thing about, I don't have a 401k these days because I work in, for myself and everything. But when I worked at Star Trek, because I was actually part of a huge corporation, Viacom at the time, I had a 401k with them. And, you just can't cash those things out. First of all, if you cash them out early, you take a huge penalty. Huge penalty. That's why, any good financial advisor will tell somebody, don't do that. You can take loans again. You can take out loans against your 401k and things like that, but you don't ever take it out. But it's not a very good, if you're planning to go missing, my insight about 401ks is that, they're not going to give you that money in cash, no matter how much it is. You're going to get a check. We'd have to know, was that check ever cashed anywhere? Was it electronically transferred from his 401k to what bank, and was that account ever tapped into? What bank was it? Was it Citibank? Was it Bank of America? What was it? So if you're planning to disappear, and by cashing out your 401k, you're leaving at least perceptually, a lot of loose ends there. That's one thing that comes to mind. Now, of course, you could get it sent to some bank somewhere and then go in there and then just take it out in cash if they have enough cash. But, how big was this 401k? We don't know. And then he's carrying around a briefcase or a suitcase or a backpack full of cash. That seems like a bad idea. So this 401k question, it would seem, at least perceptually, once again, that this is a poor way to disappear, because that's, it's a huge money trail to follow. But here we are 12 years later, and I guess he's still missing.
Yes, he is still missing. Well,
yeah.
On the technical term, yes, he is still missing.
And I think this would be a easy case to close. He's missing. All right, a 401k. Well, you would know where he had the 401k, with what company. You could surely get a subpoena or something, warrant, to find out how did he take a check? Okay, he took a check. And then you could certainly find out from all banks easily if that check was ever cashed or deposited anywhere, very, very easily. It seems that it hasn't been done because that wasn't mentioned in the talk you had. Did you lose me a couple days ago?
No, I had a sage. There we go. There you are.
Yeah.
I don't know what I just did. I honestly don't know what I did.
I thought I had offended you, D.
No, I pushed.
You just took me off the show. I was doing such a good job too.
I could hear you. Don't worry.
But I just think this 401k thing perceptually would be a really good clue to figure out what he did, but obviously it hasn't been that way. So obviously my reasoning in there somewhere is flawed. That's what I have to say about that.
And Frank, yes, if you're going to go in and unalive yourself, why would you pull out your 401k? Why not leave it for your children?
Maybe
that was my other thought there on that part.
Well,
so
maybe he did cash it out and he took it out of the woods and burnt all those dollar bills to a crisp. I don't know.
So I finally tracked down my friend, messaged him, and I was like, okay, fine. Here's the list of questions I've got. Maybe you can answer some of them. Maybe you can't. I'm going to read off what I asked him, and then I will read what response I got back. Now, my opinion, as I think about it, I didn't think he was dead somewhere.
Okay.
Does that make sense? The feeling I got from the case was he was still alive somewhere, and I just, it drove me insane. And I'm like, okay, well, it's time to start digging. So I asked for background and timeline. Can you walk us through the timeline of Rick Larabee's last known movements, starting with the high school reunion in Davis? What do you know about Rick's decision to quit his job and cash out his 401k shortly before his disappearance?
Mm-hmm.
Where were there any confirmed sightings of him after he texted his sister on October 3rd saying he was going to be gone for 9 days. Has law enforcement been able to verify Rick's intended decisions in the Northwest Oklahoma?
Mm-hmm.
Were there any known associates, friends, or contacts Rick made having planned to meet during the trip? Family and personal contacts. Rick was described as very close to his sister, Julie Miller. Has she shared any insight that might help investigators understand his mindset or plans? Did Rick have any history of mental health struggles, or were there anything unusual about his behavior leading up to the reunion?
Good questions. Solid questions, D.
What area have you, and the other one is search and effects and challenges. What search areas or what areas have been searched so far, and were there any promising leads or physical evidence? Have there been any changes in accessing financial or digital records that could shed light on Rick's movements? That was just some of the questions I asked, and this is my response that I got back.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back in town. Was down in Texas. Okay, was down in Texas. I guess he was telling me where he was at. He's back in town now. Was down in Texas. Rick, as far as we can tell, was never in Davis, actually. He was staying in a cabin outside of Murray County. His last known contact was after the reunion, and he was seen going through a toll gate in Texas. He is listed in the missing persons database. As far as what was learned, he was not close to either one of his sisters or children. I can't remember for sure, but it seems like he contacted his ex-wife around the time of the reunion.
Okay.
I want to say after. He is still showing an address in Texas, I believe, Dayton County. County, so went by there and didn't make contact, but someone was staying there. Our detectives found a phone number that came back to him. He called and made contact with a male subject, but the male subject would not answer any questions. This was in 2014 or 24, sorry. After that, it went to voicemail or no answer. It was funny that the first time we heard anything was from two psychics. One worked with Julie. Julie did not make contact with us until later on, obviously 2018. So was wondering more about the reunion money or retirement money. There is none. He quit his job and drew everything out of his retirement the week before he retired, or the reunion. Now we talk to a couple of friends he made contacted with, and they said Rick told them he was going up north and joining a military type group. We couldn't confirm that. The case was still an open missing persons case until I retired in July of 2024. I located his car in Georgia. The guy that had bought the car for his daughter from another person who bought it from a pawn your car place in Texas. I can't remember the name of it, but they have locations all over the nation. It was not a fly-by-the-night shop.
Okay.
Cindy, his older sister, said as far as she knew, he did not make it to the reunion. I sent the case to the Texas Rangers since the actual last time he was seen was in Texas. They worked on it and found out about the same as us and sent it back. Since we started it, the town folk here are not concerned about it. He had been too long. He had been gone too long, and no one knew him. The person that lent him the cabin here said he never actually seen him, I believe. He had just talked to him on the phone when he called to see if he could stay one more in one of the cabins. They were friends in high school. As far as him having any medical issues, I don't believe so. But from what I remember of him in school, he was an odd duck.
Huh.
More of a loner. So, like, they went to school together.
Okay.
So he knew him personally, as one of those. He was an odd duck. Now I'm lying on my memory, and my memory as I'm getting older is not the best. I retired in July of 2014. If you want accuracy references, you will need to call the PD. Like, he told me to call the police department and ask questions.
Well, that was nice of him.
And I'm pretty sure he would have put, his 2 cents in, talk to her, give her what she wants. So, and of course, I asked him his personal opinion on the case. He says his personal opinion is, I think he went off grid for the only reason he knows. I believe that was him that answered the phone when my detective made the phone call.
Makes a lot of sense.
So, it kind of goes with what we talked about on Monday on your show about how many people say, I'm going to do this, or, or I'm going to, write the suicide letter even out. How many go through with what's being said?
Right. That's what right. You think somebody went to commit suicide? Well, they didn't put it in the letter. Well, maybe they just didn't know if they were sure about it or not. They thought, well, I might chicken out. And then here I wrote this suicide note. I didn't actually commit suicide. So how does that make me look? That makes me look like a huge idiot. I agree with what this retired police officer said, that, probably the number that was called is this guy. Then the question is, well, if you have the person's number, and even if you're calling back, and what's the name to this number? All right, I'm guessing the guy changed his name. Maybe he didn't. What's the name connected to this number? And how long has this person had this number? You can easily find that. I could find that out even on the databases I use online. What's stopping from somebody? Then once you know the person's name, the person lives somewhere, even if the person just has a post office box, you go down there and you hang out at the post office until the guy shows up. Who comes to that post office box? Obviously, none of this has been done because it's still unsolved here in 2025. Right, D? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. One of the children decided they wanted to bug me. Severely.
There's a tornado warning
Okay.
this way.
Cool. We're in Oklahoma. We always have tornado warnings.
Mm.
No, before you get wet out here.
Okay.
Eat your sandwich.
I ate half of it.
It's only a 6-inch sub.
Be happy even is able to eat.
Oh my
Part of it.
god.
Go.
No.
You're interrupting the
I
line.
will ruin your life for you.
You already ruined it. You're unmuted so everyone can hear you.
Good.
Go away.
No.
Yes.
No.
Oh my
Love
God.
me.
I put up with you. That should be enough.
If you love me, I'll go. Love you.
Love you. Bye. Ugh. He's as bad as the 11-year-old for attention. I swear. I get to do something and they think they have to have it. All of the attention. Now, and me and you talked also earlier, Ed. You said you had a case you would like to bring to the forefront.
Yeah. Are we done with this, though? Are we done talking about Rick?
Well, what's your opinion?
I'm just wondering why this is still unsolved. This seems like the most straightforward investigation that you could ever have. You have a 401k that was cashed out. The check had to have been deposited, or maybe just took the money out and didn't do anything with it. I guess that's possible. But I think that the check was cashed or deposited somewhere in some account with somebody's name on it. Pretty sure. When you sell a car, the title has to be with the car and it has to be signed. Was that Rick's signature on the title? That could easily be done as well.
The pawn and go pawn shops that you can actually sell vehicles at.
Yeah.
Most of the time they make you sign that. Right.
Well, you have to have the title. I mean, I know it's a pawn shop and I know the reputation that some pawn shops have, but if they want to buy that car, take it in and sell it, they have to get a title for it.
Hey, Mama Bear. Ed, the one that thinks you don't like her, is in chat.
I like you just fine, Mama Bear. I like you just fine. Hello, how are you tonight? Sorry, I missed you last week.
She's going to kick my butt later. Thank God she lives in another state. That means she ain't going to call me at midnight and go, I need to talk.
I mean, what? Are they just lazy? Is this police department do they not want to get this case off their books?
Well, see, Davis sent it back to the Texas Rangers because literally the last place he was seen was going through that toll gate there in Texas. And the Texas Rangers sent it back to Davis.
This seems like the most easiest disappearance to solve ever, and nobody's doing anything. They're, like I said, I mean, you know, hey, D, you know the kind of disappearances that are featured on my podcast. You know, we could only wish to have so much information. You know, I don't know. I mean, am I the one that has to go to drive to Texas or whatever and track this guy down and solve it for everybody? Is that what I have to do?
It's like, there he is. I don't know. I mean, it's crazy. And now, of course, you know, my friend is no longer the chief. So therefore, and he was the one that kept pushing for answers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, make these phone calls. We're going to check into this. We're going to check into that. He retired in July 2024. That was the last, in 2024 was the last time they had any type of info, which I think that was one of his lieutenants called.
What part of Texas? Mama Bear is asking. Denton, Texas.
Didn't.
I'm wondering if you talk to this retired guy again, if he knows the phone number in Texas.
I'll ask him.
It's probably been changed by now, being that this guy doesn't want to be tracked down, but still, it's too late now. Once you know the number, you can, you know, the guy, if Rick changed his name, which seems, I guess, pretty likely, not totally likely, but pretty likely, there's going to be a name attached to that phone, no matter what kind of phone it is. And what's he going to change his name again? It seems unlikely. So,
and why would you go back to the same town you came out of? That would be my next question.
Well, he's the last place people are going to look for is where he went missing from.
You know, and he even drove down to Denton and could tell that someone was living in the house that was given as the address.
All you have to do is sit there long enough. The guy has to come out of his house eventually.
Yeah.
So it's certainly unusual, but I'm inclined to believe, you know, when we hear something like this and we know about this, D, I think we then have to extrapolate to the point where there are probably a lot of disappearances like this that are right there to be solved, but nothing's being done. Now, I don't know if I could say that about the 380 disappearances that have been featured on Unfound so far, but surely there are other disappearances like Rick's where you got paper trail here, phone number here, things like that. And all somebody has to do is go knock on a couple doors. You know, it's like, it's one, you know, choose to do one of two things. Either you've decided that you found him and clear it from NamUs, put the file away, get it off the Charlie Project, or go down there and actually figure out what's going on. Pick one. I don't care which one, but pick one.
Well, and like I said, I'm pretty sure that if Mr. Cooper still had, you know, was still the LA, I probably could suggest, hey, why don't you get a PI on it? Find someone that can personally go sit at that house.
Yeah.
And watch that door. You know, and I hate saying that because I know how I feel about PI. Well, at least two
right.
years.
Well, that might be something that a private investigator could actually do.
Yeah.
That might not mess it up. Yeah. I mean, I realize you can't get some deputy to go down there and sit there 24/7. That seems like not the best use of taxpayer money.
Well, and
but
plus,
if you get somebody, but here's what I mean, unless the 401k was for like $1 million and the guy just retired and is just, you know, living in his man cave and not going shopping for food, he's getting everything delivered and everything. He has to come out of the house sometime. And
unless he went somewhere where that was actually wooded and he's out there hunting for his own food, that'd be the only way I could see anyone getting by with
that. He surely did. You know, he told somebody he was going to go. You know, as soon as I heard in one of those things about, well, I'm going to go join some what was it,
Militia.
militant group or militia group
Yeah.
or whatever. So that's such crap. You know, if you want to disappear, you don't tell people what you're going to do.
And then to come find out that most of what Julie's been putting out here into the world of the internet's about her brother may not even be her own words. Like, she's talking to a psychic.
Oh, no. Yeah. Well. Yeah.
We've seen what the psychics have done, the ones of us who follow Summer Wells. In Summer Wells' case, nothing. Mama Bear, you know how psychics work. We've all seen them.
Right. I have nothing against what this guy did. It seems he just didn't want to deal with whatever was going on in his life, and he cashed out his 401k, took a hit on that, and that was worth it to him. Okay. Fine. You know, now, was he avoiding like child support payments or something like that? Are there any warrants out for his arrest? But other than that, I really don't have any problem. But as long as it's open, you know, somebody unfortunately is going to be devoting some time to this. You could just solve this today and put it off everybody's minds.
Exactly, Mama Bear. Yes, it seems as if Rick might be living a double life.
Well, maybe he was.
Even to this date, because if he changed his name and his ID and everything.
You need to get if you can. I mean, don't make it public. You know, that'll just be a mess. But if you get the phone number and the address, certainly we could get to the bottom of this pretty quickly, probably quicker than the police can. This should have been closed a while ago.
Mm-hmm. But this is where, in small town Oklahoma, the police departments are underfunded. And I will vouch on that because I did work for the police department at one point in time, not as a police officer, but as a filing clerk. They're in Davis. They are understaffed, underpaid, and just, you know, you're lucky if you have 3 police officers.
Well, then that then should make it even more so that they have an easy case that can be solved, that's high profile, and make them all look good.
And nothing ever happens in Murray County. And I say that now. We did have here recently, but this came from another town, like Anadarko, Oklahoma, to Murray County. But we don't even have, Murray County has a very low rate of crime. A low rate of crime.
It's a stumper why it's not solved. I don't know. Maybe there very well could be something that's not public information.
Hey, Danny.
That
you showed up, sir.
That we don't know about, but this just seems like this could be solved tomorrow. Any enemies? I just don't think that. What do you do? I just don't see that. What do you do? Get threatened, extorted to cash out his 401k? That sounds unlikely. Do we want to move on to that Bay thing? What
DS Coop? Not that I know of. I told you he might show up. Would you like a link, DS? We can go ahead and go on to Ed's other thing, and then if you want a link, we can bring you up after Ed gets done. He was never in Davis. That's what Mr. Coop is saying. He was never in Davis.
Okay.
So Ed, if maybe Coop, if I send you Ed's email, would you be willing? Well, I don't know if you know numbers or whereabouts at the time. He's willing to help dig into it.
Sure.
I mean,
Absolutely.
and as I said, I'll offer it. I mean, I think it's time that it's solved, and
Yeah, let's get it off the books. Let's move on to some other
Yeah.
things for that police department.
let's get it off the books. Make
I just don't see the whatever name he's going by now. I just don't see him walking into that police department and saying, "Hey, sorry guys for the inconvenience, but here I am."
No, I don't either.
That would be a story, though.
Okay, so Ed, go ahead and
No, you want to talk about that? Because I looked into that. What you brought up about those bodies being found in that lake, or
oh yeah,
whatever. Let's talk about that.
yeah. Well, I don't have much saved on that.
Ah, you brought it up. That's funny. Okay.
Oh, well, I can. So, Lady Bird Lake is a lake down in Houston, Texas, that has become a body drop. Most African American males Yeah, I already read that part. DS. I don't know what you want me to call you, sir. Most have been African American males, but there was a white guy who was also dumped that was homosexual, living in a brothel or cup, whatever they are called, where there's more than two relationships, polyamorous.
Okay.
And he was found deceased as well.
Yeah, I read some articles. Maybe I spent about a half hour on this today after you told me, D. And, I have to admit, I'm not inclined to believe that there's a serial killer or anything like that. In fact, it seems like the Austin Police Department, or it's Austin, right? Austin?
Houston.
Has, they've looked into this and they just call all of this stuff that's being said about it in social media as nothing but sensationalism. That's what they're saying. Now, what I need to know, and I'm not saying it's not out there, I couldn't find it in the time that I allotted for myself earlier today, is, we need to know, I know you've mentioned a couple, but I think they said there were 38 bodies.
Yeah.
Over some years, not all this year, but over some years that have been found there. And I really would need to know about these people. What are their names? What are their backgrounds? All of them, not just a few of them, but all of them. And really, do they have any connections to each other? Are there any similarities between all of them? Did they frequent that area? Are they from Houston? Are they from Hawaii? We need to know more about the victims to be able to start determining what is exactly going on here. But it seems that the Houston Police Department thinks that most of these are just drownings, overdoses, although they do admit that it seems one of them was a homicide.
Well, it says over 3 dozen bodies
Mhm.
found in Lady Bird Lake since 2022.
Yeah. So so 38 divided. Let's just say we're almost at the end of 2025. Divided by 4, that goes like 9 times. So 9 bodies a year, not quite one a month. Yeah, that doesn't sound great. But on the other hand, we have to remember Houston is now the third. It's even bigger than Chicago now. I think it's the third largest city in the United States behind New York and LA. And you have a body of water there in the city area, which means probably you're going to have a lot of homeless. You're going to be more likely to have homeless people and transient people and drug addicts and, people like
Well,
that.
My
It
first,
starts to add up after a while.
my first thought when I heard about it was Riley Strand, the kid in Tennessee that fell into the body of water.
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
the fraternity guy that,
There's
yeah.
a lot of bars down around the Lady Bird Lake area. Like a
Right.
lot. So I can see you falling in. You're too drunk to try to swim to shore, which I don't comprehend that, but I guess I've never been that drunk in my life. There's been plenty of hangovers, but never that drunk.
But you very well could be right. But once again, this would be additional information that I would need to know is, did any of those people who were found there and then taken out of there get all of the attention that Riley Strain did or not?
No.
I really don't know. My perception is no, because we can name Riley Strain, and that happened up in Ohio or Indiana. And this happened in one of the biggest cities in the United States, and we don't know any of these people's names.
Well, I know Brian Enton talked to a family he aired it today, that lost a son, or the gentleman lost his son down there. That's the one that was in the Fruthful.
Okay.
So, Brian Enton, I know, is kind of a big name, of course, especially down there in Florida. When it comes to news, he covered, what was it, Gabby Petito's case and stuff. He covered it. And I was just like, he kept calling it the bayous, and I'm like, but it's not the bayous, it's Lady Bird Lake. There's a big difference between a bayou and Lady Bird. But
do they have bayous in Texas? I thought that was a Louisiana thing.
Yeah. And I was even going to say Mississippi, maybe even Florida, but I know that Texas doesn't have bayous, at least not that I know of.
I just think at this point, as best as I could tell, I feel horrible about all of this. But this just doesn't seem to me to be any more than misadventure by a bunch of people.
Yeah.
I think. And I realize that I'm sure if I went to Reddit and other places, they're making making a lot of hay, and it's becoming a cottage industry for some serial killer in the area. It just seems unlikely. It just does. Like I said, to me, it just sounds more like a lake in one of the largest cities in the United States, and we have a growing homeless problem, and there's the water, there's the people, and the two intersect once in a while with bad outcomes.
Yeah.
And I realize, I'm guessing that, some of these families think that there was foul play. Well, you know what? All the families that with all the smiley face killer people, they all still believe, I think, that their sons and daughters, mostly sons, were murdered. Well, probably not. Families get a lot of these things wrong. They want people to blame. Nothing against them. I know that they're emotionally scarred and everything, but I run into that with my own guests. There's many guests and I do not see eye to eye on what actually happened. And I'm fine with that. But because they've been emotionally scarred, they can't be objective about it. That's the job for the rest of us. And
Yeah.
I'm open to new facts, but I'd have to know these people, what was going on with all of them and everything else to come to a firm conclusion. But right now it just seems like sign of the times.
Yeah. And it's sad. It really is.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. Just like I said, I know what the articles that I read said. I read a couple different ones, and they were consistent. The Houston police just, 20 some of them they determined to be drownings. Drunk people can't swim. It's horrible. I mean, it's we hear about Chicago and all the shootings and everything. Certainly, Houston should not be bragging about this.
And I'll agree with you there on that one too.
So, yeah, but I have to admit, I think that I kind of, maybe I'll make this I'll look into it more and make this a topic for next Monday's live show. I'll have some more time to get into the numbers on it, devote a little more time to it for next Monday. I think I had seen it in passing, but you telling me about it today kind of, put it on. Well, I need to look into this a little more, at least.
Well, and I never said smiley face killer. No, keep that in mind. And I've heard people, and I'm like, no, because I don't believe in the smiley face killer. Unfortunately,
no.
Just because you find a smiley face where someone might have been in the water at some point does not mean that it's a serial killer. No. I
don't know. As you know, as I've said before, Dee, I think that there are too many people out there that want to make these things up because they need something to talk about.
Yeah.
It's no different than being in high school and people create rumors about, the popular kids just because they need somebody to hate. They need something to discuss. They need this. They need this. That they need a diversion, and that's how a lot of this stuff comes to be.
So you said you had a case.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on what I had talked about on Monday on the live show, and that was the disappearance of Kelly Day Wilson, DAE. I was told by a listener, was it during the live show or after, that there had been a podcast series on her disappearance. That was not something that I knew in preparing what I talked about Kelly's disappearance on Monday night. I had a chance to listen to that series over the last few days. I think there were 10, 11 episodes. Each episode is I don't know what the average is. Maybe the average is about 40 minutes or something. So was listening to it while I was doing other things here in my condo here, whether it was like getting this Friday's episode for tomorrow ready or taking a shower or going up to the park to throw the discs. That's how I got that all done. And wow, what a mess. I thought it was a mess when I talked about it on Monday night with the chief investigator being accused of being a Satanist and all these people being charged with Kelly's disappearance and raping kids and all these things. But the podcast, I think it's called Devil Town. And I thought that the host of it, did a pretty good job because he talked to many, many, many people. And to be able to keep everything fairly organized, talking to so many people, and because it's fairly complex, everything that went on. Now, keep in mind, Kelly is still missing. So after all these years, 1992 and Satanists and everything else, she's still missing. And this is in listening to it. And like I said, I think the guy's name is Wes Ferguson. I think he did a fine job on it. There's still many, and I did email him, by the way, and he did get back to me. Maybe I will talk to him sometime soon. Certainly, there's a lot of questions that I still have that I think would be more instructive, actually, about the disappearance, because I think that when you're going to do a podcast series on something like that, you have to extensively get into the Satanist stuff. And I mean, it's all ugly. It's all really, really ugly. There are a lot of people out there who appear to be good people. They are horrible people. And Gilmer, Texas sounds like a crazy place. I mean, that's the way it came across in the podcast series. But this just shows you in listening to how people can so far go off the rails. You know, there were so many good people that ended up believing that Satanists existed in the town. And that's what happened to Kelly. On and on and on. It was, it is something. But what I come away from the actual disappearance, you know, I'm still thinking, even though I talked about, well, there's certainly things that can be done. And in the coverage that was done with the series, and once again, I have nothing bad to say about the series, because you have to talk about the Satanists and everything else. Certainly, as a person who is just into disappearances, I would have liked to have heard more about the everyday stuff going on with Kelly and her friends and her work and all of those things. But it was even, like I said, it was more even of a fiasco than what I understood, you know, preparing for Monday night. Dee, had you ever heard of Kelly's disappearance before?
No,
or not?
I think Monday night was the first time I had heard about her. Well, Sunday, but you know.
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of it is one of those disappearances that you think would be better known, certainly with everything that went on after she went missing. But it's not sure, maybe because it's 33 years ago. I don't know. And the Satanist part of it really only encapsulate the first 2 years. She goes missing in January of 1992. And then by 2 years later, all of the Satanist stuff, as far as people being charged and grand juries and all of those things, it happened in those first 2 years. And so none of that has gone on since. And really, the circumstances of her disappearance are not what we would call necessarily sensational. It's not like Brian Schaefer with the video or Jennifer Kesse. It's certainly nothing like that. But what is interesting to me, and I urge, you know, if you want to go check that podcast series out, everybody should do so. It's a few years old. It was done in 2022. So it's, you know, it's like 3 years old. But you get this kind of dichotomy of who Kelly Wilson was. On one hand, you know, she was still in high school. The guy she had been dating, though, went to West Point. You know, it's not easy to get, you know, to get into West Point. You need very, very high grades. You have to live, you know, as a teenager, you have to live a pretty clean life. You also have to get some sort of recommendation or signed letter from to go one of the service academies like Navy or, you know, West Point or Annapolis or the Air Force Academy in Colorado. You have to get some sort of senator's signature or whatever you have to do that. I mean, you have to jump through a lot of hoops. So I'm left thinking that, this guy who ended up, it's 33 years ago. This guy is like, I guess, about 50 now. He went to West Point. Like I said, you have to be pretty conscientious to do that. So on one hand, she's dating this guy, but on the other hand, the podcast portrayed her. I'm not saying this is lies. Portrayed her as a party girl. And in fact, she was 17 when she went missing. When her car was found with a flat tire out in front of where she worked, it had a bottle of vodka in it. The host interviewed a couple of her friends and admitted they were getting into all sorts of crazy things. I'm not saying they were criminals or anything, but doing things that probably parents would not like their 17-year-old daughters to do. So you didn't quite get, I think, the clearest of pictures regarding Kelly. And not the host's fault. But we know, as the victimology, and the host does talk about victimology in the podcast series, but disappearances are about people, not about circumstances. And so I came away from it wondering way more about Kelly herself, and much less concerned about the Satanist stuff and some of these other things that were covered. Once again, understanding that when you do a series like that, you have to talk about it. Whereas I think that if Kelly's disappearance were already featured on Unfound, we certainly would devote time to the Satanist stuff, but probably only about 10 minutes. You just say, well, all these people it was complete hysteria in Gilmer, Texas. It's so crazy. And then the abuse that some of the children suffered at the hands of these people. And then, they got so much into this. I think they might've gone 2 episodes of that podcast series without mentioning Kelly at all, even though that's the reason the series exists. So I will tell you, and I did tell the host this, but once again, I think I'd like to talk to him and kind of pick his brain a little bit more if it'll allow me to, because anytime you do a podcast like that, I'm guessing there's a lot of things that ended up on the editing floor that just didn't quite make it into how he wanted to craft this series. I'd certainly like to hear more about that, but certainly like to pick more in his brain some more. But this just shows you, when it comes to witnesses and things like that, you should be dubious of all of it. You just have to be. We've kind of seen this to a much, I can't even believe I'm going to even say this, but to a much lesser extent, we saw this in Canadian Texas with Tom Brown's disappearance, and now we know death. That people saying all sorts of things, and none of it has ended up being true. Well, the investigation into Kelly's disappearance is like Tom Brown's, like times 100.
Oh, wow.
And that, now that's crazy.
Yeah.
And I guess, I don't know. I don't think I think it's a coincidence that it's Texas. Of course, Texas, the second most populated state. I guess you're going to run into stuff like that. If it was Rhode Island and we had 2 crazy disappearances like that, now that would be really weird. But, people should check it out. And I hope to, maybe we can make it an episode here sometime soon. But her mother really doesn't do any media. Her father appears in the podcast series. He was interviewed by the host. Obviously, he was open to being interviewed. He got recorded. I think but being that he wasn't around, he wasn't even in Texas. The parents were divorced. He was in Louisiana. I don't know how good of a guest he would be. No offense to get against him as a parent or as a man, but he wasn't seeing Kelly on a daily basis. And so I don't know how insightful it might be. Maybe I could ask this podcast host if he wanted to appear, but yeah, it was crazy. The rumorizing and all these people who are otherwise good people getting caught up in all of this craziness. It's very sad.
Yeah. Well, you know, with Tom's case, I mean, heck, we had, well, whenever I finally came into it, he had already been found.
Oh, okay.
But
All right.
then you got to realize I can't stand Phil Klein. And that's my opinion and my opinion alone.
Yeah, and you know him from Holly and Colt's case, right? Because
Yeah.
he was involved in you know him from that. Right.
And there are things that man has put out on that case that if it had any, you know what I mean, anything to do with the case. And I talked to a lady last night who told me straightforward she was part of the crowd. She goes, but there's so many rumors out there.
Yeah.
And who's to say they did anything? She goes, now I'm not going to say he's not a little shit. She goes, but who's to say Con had anything to do with it? And Elements didn't take her, you know?
Yeah.
So.
With Kelly Wilson's, despite all of the, you know, pointing of fingers at, and there was a private investigator on that, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody. Because it kind of leads up to something, but there is a private investigator who eventually becomes involved, and the host interviews her a couple times. She appears in a couple of the episodes, and once again, I'm not here to ruin anything. Everybody wants to listen to it, they can do so. This person was all up involved and everything else. I don't even think that person is even in private investigations anymore.
Oh, wow.
Because I found her Facebook page and information on there, and still her name is still connected to a you know, some agent private investigating agency. But if you look at her profile, you would never, there's no mention of Kelly Wilson, no mention of her being involved in the investigation. Nothing. But once again, this is the podcast that was done 3 years ago. And this is why I continue to say that when it comes to private investigators, disappearances, useless. In fact, I'm not going to say who it was. Just coincidentally today, a former guest, she emailed me and she wanted to talk, and I called her right back. And she's asking me for advice. And I'll admit it, she said something to the effect, well, I was talking to this private investigator. I said, don't do that. I said, I want to help you. I want to help you. You know, I've been helpful to you. You know, you emailed me. I call you back in 10 minutes. You know, I'm here to help. We'll keep everything off the record. And of course, for the discussion here tonight and elsewhere, I'm not mentioning the disappearance, what it is. I'm not mentioning who I talked to, nothing. This is still private. But I told her, you're just going to have to pick one, because I know what I'm going to say is going to conflict with what practically any private investigator you're going to talk to about your disappearance. Okay. And I don't want you to get conflicting information. All right. That's just going to make everything tougher. I want to help you. I will tell you that they don't know what they're talking about. If you need to find that out for yourself, that's fine. That's fine. But I don't want to get into a situation where, well, this person said this. What do you think? I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
That gets very sticky.
I'm not going to do that, because it's a lot of work, and it's a waste of time, because I'm convinced they don't know what they're talking about. And it just puts a person like that, a family member, in a very difficult spot. Just don't care who she picks, but she just has to pick one. You know. So this kind of theme keeps coming up over and over and over after 9 years of private investigators getting involved and not really solving anything. But man, they are great at putting out news releases.
I was liking Causing Chaos. Once again, I have the same theory that I do behind psychics.
Yeah.
I mean, with watching Summer Wells's case, I don't trust them.
No.
I don't trust them. You know,
Nope.
it is the thing that it is.
Nope.
Even though I thought about going to get my PI license, even here as of recent, I'm still like, I still don't trust them.
Well,
we regular police department.
Any good person that wants to go get their license and try to make it up, stick it out to be a private investigator and make a career, fantastic. You want to go do that? Fantastic. We need good, moral, conscientious, ethical people doing that. The problem is, of course, that profession needs some.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying, you know what I'm saying. I just don't find them to be very competent.
Frank, if you're still listening, this is nothing towards you, sir. Well, he isn't really he's a data private investigator. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like, if there's any data trackers or markers left.
Mm-hmm. Once again, I'm only talking about disappearances. Let's just make this clear when it comes to disappearances. I'm sure they're fine. If you want some, if you think your husband's cheating and you need to get photos and track down and things, I'm sure a lot of them are excellent at that. Okay. And things. But when it comes to disappearances, don't do it. Just don't. I remember how long has it been? 5 years? Was it before COVID? Might have been. One of my assistants had told me about a disappearance, and there was that's still unsolved. And there was some private investigator that allegedly had some good reputation. And
are we still here?
Yeah, I'm still here. Hello? Do you hear me, D?
Did I literally?
Hello, D. Technical issues. We have to put up the little color bar. Beep. I'll wait till D comes back to finish my story.
Am I back?
Yeah, D. Did we?
Okay.
I could hear you, but you couldn't hear me, or
I couldn't hear you, and you were frozen. So I was like, it must be my end.
All right. To continue my story, there's a disappearance that's still unsolved. That some years ago, my assistant, I think it was Cherie, told me about. Maybe you should try covering this. And this private investigator that's working on. He has a real good reputation and everything. Ended up not mentioning any names, not mentioning the disappearance. But I ended up talking to this guy. And he was telling me the most outlandish story about how this disappearance happened, how this guy was getting chased all around this neighborhood, and he ran this way and he ran that way. And then a bunch of people, it's been some years, was he shot in somebody's driveway and a bunch of people saw. I mean, it was the outlandishest of stories. And I remember telling the guy, you don't actually believe that, do you? And he did. It's completely insane. The story that, of course, it's still unsolved. And I don't even know if this guy's still working on it or not. But it's just, why does these are people who don't know each other. Phil Klein. I had a private investigator that very, very early on in Unfound's existence that I recommended to one of my guests. She ended up telling me later that this private investigator propositioned her.
Well, but we also have an issue with some guests who tried to proposition the YouTuber or the podcaster.
That could be. Maybe that's how it went. But that's what she told me. And of course, I'm not saying who the private investigator was. But I think these are people who don't know each other. These are private investigators from Florida to Texas to California or wherever else, Oklahoma, wherever. They probably don't know each other, but they all act and think the same way. It is crazy. I don't know. Does that profession cause this? Or are these people like this and that profession draws that type of person to it? I don't know.
Ed, well then, here's one for you. As a podcaster / YouTuber, what would you think about a supposed married woman sending photos to a married man of her butt cheeks? Because she's trying to find out information on a case. Yeah, it's happened.
I believe it.
I can send you.
I'm not going to say I'm maybe a little surprised, but I'm not shocked. It's I there's just something about all of that escapes me. I don't know.
I don't get it. I came across with the Wells family as a normal, everyday citizen. And that's where I left it. Until Candace realized, wait a minute here, she's doing YouTube. Because I wasn't out, as everyone says with Summer's case, people made money off the back of that baby. Wayne got her teeth fixed, planned a wedding, said she was going to Quentin Simons. She basically sent nudes to Don Wells, and they were all YouTubers. Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
And I don't get it.
I don't either.
And you're sitting here trying to say you're here for the victims? How is that here for the victims? Because if the child's dead, the victims are the family members. Be it the sisters, the brothers, the nieces, the nephews, the cousins, and on down the road. If the parents aren't involved.
Do you know about, I think coincidentally, once again, another Texas disappearance. You know about Allie Lowitzer, right? You know that disappearance, right?
That was the girl that was in the bar, right?
No, this is a girl that got out of school and got dropped off by the bus, and she was supposed to be walking down to her job to get a check, and she never showed up there, never seen again.
Yes, I do remember that case.
All right. And I remember when I first started Unfound in 2016, that was a disappearance that was on my list. You couldn't touch it because there was a particular, I think she called herself a private investigator, but I think that she didn't re-up her license, but she continued to do work like that.
Oh.
And, she was all over that case, and she was close with Allie's mother and everything, and nobody else could even get close to it. Even it was obvious to me early on in, my career doing this when I was a neophyte, that surely this woman did not know what she was doing. And she's doing shows, and she even ended up on an episode of Disappeared for some, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, this can't be true. This cannot be real. And it ended up, I was right, that she doesn't do any of that anymore, despite getting all this attention and making all these claims and everything. And that was how eventually Allie's mother eventually I did get to interview her, is because, and we really did not talk too much about this other woman. But I don't know what it is. I don't know why. So it seems everyone that you run into makes all these outrageous claims and everything else, and nothing ever gets done, ever. But they'll take people's money. So, and once again, I'm not mentioning nice people can go, but, and I think, this stuff is well documented, but I'm not mentioning any names and everything. I'm just happy eventually that at least on some of these that I've actually been able to, talk to these people, these families and guests in a constructive way.
Yeah.
And we're actually, eventually doing some good reporting and everything, because some people out there, some guests, some families out there, they are totally under the spell of people like this, and it's no good.
Well, it's just like I said with the sister of Rick. I couldn't understand why it was so hard for her to email you, but she wanted to tell me all about it. You know what I mean? And I was like, well, I'm not the podcast. Email my friend Ed.
Yeah.
And she kept trying to talk to me about it. And I'm like, I'm not the podcast holder. You need to talk to him. And she just kept on, well, if you won't take my case. And I'm like, lady, what did I just tell you?
Yeah.
I am not the podcast holder. You need to talk to my friend Ed.
Right.
No.
And
it was just very, very, like, she tried to control it so much. And I was like, okay, you're being way too controlling. I don't like it. But if Ed talks to you, Ed talks to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to tell you my opinion. And now I'm seeing that my opinion might actually be a little bit more on the way that Ellie's looking at it than not. That he's off grid somewhere. Or at least not responding to family.
Yeah. I don't know. We just don't have those answers. You've been doing this for a little while now. I've been doing this for a little while now. And even though we are immersed in this, we don't have answers for these things that go on in the work that we do. That's how perplexing it is. That's how perplexing it is. If we were talking about what goes on in accounting or engineering or something that's really strange, we would be like, yeah, no wonder we don't understand it, because we don't do that. But here we are in something that we devote a lot of time to every day. And we're like, man, we are so confused by this stuff.
Well, with Mama Bear, every day she's wanting to talk to me about, most of the time we talk about Summer, because she is part of Summer's community. And every day it's something new. It's like, okay, until we have hard leads, all we can do is go, okay, so potentially a little girl went missing in Tennessee. That's all we got.
Yep.
We don't have the parents did it. We don't have a smoking gun per se. And until we have that, all we can do, even with Sebastian Rogers, is put his name out there. Put his information out there. Put what they have on NamUs or even the FBI website on these kids, just to help keep their names out there.
Yeah.
Because who knows? Someone might run across it one day and go, hey, wait a minute here. I do remember something about that night.
Yeah.
That no one's ever questioned before.
Speaking of Sebastian Rogers, I'm reading this missing persons book, this textbook from the UK. They devote an entire chapter to kids with learning disabilities or autism in this book. Very interesting.
That's why I said I would like to get my hands on that book, because I would like to know more. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Especially with the child aspect.
Hold on one second. Hold on a second. This is the book, by the way, right here. It's just called Missing Persons, a handbook of research edited by Karen Shayla Green and Lillian Elise. As you can tell, I'm about halfway through it. I'm into the adult section. It's split up into one half children and one half adults. And there was a section on part 1, chapter 4, unaccompanied. Yeah, the child abduction, geography of missing children. But yeah, they devoted quite a bit in here to talking about autistic children. Very interesting. So that's the book. Like I said, I'm coming up. The next chapter I'm going to be reading is Missing People, Missing Adults, really, with Dementia is the next chapter. So,
we've seen several silver alerts, and those scare me.
Yeah. Very sad. But that's all I got for tonight, D.
Alrighty, Ed.
That went fast tonight. Went fast.
Well, I mean, I'm glad that, and I've got to get your email over to Danny. So.
All right. He is the guy for Rick Larabee?
Yes.
All right, great. I'll talk to him. I'd hope that maybe we could have him on if he wants to come on and talk, or at least I can maybe get some more understanding on some of these things, at least. And the perception is it should have been sewn up. Maybe maybe I'm misunderstanding something. Either way, I hope to have a great conversation with him. And
well, he was in chat. That was the one that was.
I saw it. Yeah, I saw it. So I'd like to have a conversation with him, and maybe we can figure out how to wrap this thing up.
Yeah, maybe we can all come up with an idea of, okay, how are we going to do this and get, proof that he's still alive. He is living where he's always probably lived.
Right.
And sister's just a nutcase. Sorry, but
well, I'm not getting into that. But if he wants to contact me, that'll be great.
Speaking of cases
of nutcases.
Friday,
nutcases and cases are two different things in what we do, D.
Your last Friday's episode, I was told to tell you that if you got farther with the lady than what Artie did, he is very proud of you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He said that she tried to go off the deep end. Rose did with him.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know. What you heard was what you heard. I don't even think that sometimes we get off on tangents that get a little weird, that get delated from the final product. I might have just deleted a little bit, but that was like 98% of the conversation. So I don't know what to tell you.
So it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Arctic, this is nothing against Arctic. It's certainly not. My experience oftentimes has been, these people may be a little loosey-goosey and everything else, but once they know that they're finally going on the record and everything, it's amazing how black and white they become. Everything suddenly becomes very factual and everything else. Yes. It's weird how that works. It's rarely the opposite. Rarely is it the opposite where off the record, they're very sensible and everything, and then they get on the record and they're crazy. It's much more likely the opposite, that they're a little loosey-goosey and talking about all sorts of stuff. But it's then when they get to the actual thing that's going to be on the record, man, they just, it's like they're under oath or something.
Well, I know Mr. Cooper asked me the next show if I would cover two more cases out of Murray County. Both of them are murders.
Okay.
And they're cold cases. So, he made the remark, anyone that could be interviewed, most of them have Alzheimer's by now.
Mm-hmm. Well, regarding next week, D, I'll tell you just right now, I think I'm going to be on an RV trip with my two brothers. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it next Thursday night. So just so you know. And then the Thursday after that, well, I think I'll still be able to do the Thursday after that. I have a show with Dr. Telesco, but that's at 7. So I could go directly from her show to your show 2 weeks from now. So,
Okay.
All right. So just so you know.
So next week you'll be with your brothers.
Yes. Right.
It's Dr. Telesco again. Yay.
Yeah. This will be my first time appearing with her this semester. So, yeah. All right, D.
Alrighty.
I'll see you in Messenger.
See you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.